And now all of these things appear right here. These are your viewport options. So here you can toggle visibility. So, let's say I don't want to see lights in my scene, so I deactivate lights. I don't want to see the cameras on my scene, so I deactivate the cameras. I can just reappear those things too. It also works for meshes, curves, surfaces, meta, you understand. And this thing is called the gizmo. This is to check and see all your tools are correct or something like, these things. See, you can just, instead of just tapping here, you can just have this select tool on. So then whenever you have these gizmos on, you just have them already. You don't have to press a shortcut or anything to quick access them. I don't really like working with them active. If I'm gonna use them, I'll just. And then next we have the viewport overlays. This will really help us troubleshoot some things that like face orientation. So if we were to go into edit mode and grab this face, go left click, and then what happened? Because look, we go to mesh, normals, or you can press Alt N to flip. Then now this face is backwards. So it looks fine, but if we were to put this in a game and have backface culling on, this face that is red would be invisible and only visible from this side. You can take advantage of this and make some cool looking you can take advantage of it and make some cool looking optical illusions with this, like backface culling. So, and then when we go in, see, it's still there, but and flip. Now it's fixed. Now here we have the X-ray vision. So, anything we have is transparent here. Just put Alt N, like Alt C, I mean. Oh, G-force is getting in the way. Sometimes this will happen where I'll press Alt Z to make something invisible here, and it'll just call in G-force experience. You can just press here. As you can see here, it says Alt Z to deactivate and activate. And then here we have our wireframe view. These lines are edges. These points are vertices. And in edge mode, in wireframe mode, we can see all of the topology that it makes. So let's say I were to bring in a torus, right? When it's smooth, you can't really tell how many faces there are on it. You go into wireframe and you can count them. I mean, of course, you're not going to count them. You can just select all and get information on this object and see what it is. And then this here is the viewport shading, solid mode. This is just for modeling to make it easier for us. It's unrendered, not shaded. I mean, you can shade it using the drop down right here. Change it to matte cap or flat. Matte cap is really good for sculpting and just playing around with it. They even have a cool cell shaded look, but it's oriented to the camera and not actually any form of lighting. You activate cavities so you can see intense edges like that on hard edges. Shadows, X-ray, depth of field. You also change it to flat and back to studio. Next we have the workbench renderer. Here is where we can try out materials. So if we were going to shading and make some materials, we can just preview them here. See? Because they won't be visible in 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 the solid mode. They're only visible in workbench and the final one, render. With render, you can use different types of render engines. You have Eevee, workbench, which is just the default viewport. You have cycles, which is more production quality. And then and Eevee is a real-time renderer, kind of like a game engine. I really like using this one a lot because it really saves time on renders. Cycles that can sometimes be time consuming. If you have a GPU, like a card, you can just activate GPU compute, and in your preferences, you can go all the way down to system, and you can pick your cycles render device. So if you have AMD Ryzen, you can use if you have an AMD card processor, you can use CUDA to render on AMD. And if you want to use optics, you'll need an RTX GPU. OpenCL is something that you would use if um, you wouldn't have a GPU. Wait, no. But of course, you can set it to none. But optics is the best one right now if you have a compatible GPU. I like setting it to experimental, and then viewport denoising, optics AI accelerated. Then of course you have all these different render passes. You can render ambient occlusion, render the background only, render emission, combined, or color, direct, or combined. You can do the same in Eevee. It says shadow, but really this is some form of ambient occlusion.